two different things you're talking about there. You know what is going on? And you know, they're just so we've had to put together. And I went to the first two meetings. There's 6 mandatory meetings. I went to the first 2, and I said, this is a waste of time. You know, if you don't show up, well, what's going to happen? Well, we don't know, but the law says you have to be involved in this. So we set up this meeting today and had this final meeting. But when we first got there, they laid this map out. It's like 10 feet by 5 feet of the whole county. And he said, we want to know every important thing in this county. We want to know where police departments are, where weapons are stored, hazardous material, where can we land a helicopter, where are the airports, how big of a plane can you land in those airports, where are all the bridges, where are all the power stations, where are all the generating stations, where are all the substations. I mean, they literally want to know everything. And I'm sitting there thinking of this, and I'm thinking, man,
all right, stay there.
Martial law.
Yeah, that's the kicker where he says it looks like martial law. We're going to come back, play this, finish up with our guest who has been writing about the story. Stay with us. Okay, let's finish the very end of that clip with this confirmed. Our guest, again, has a full tape, the name, which county, but we're not putting it out because the county official doesn't want it out. Dealing with FEMA. Is FEMA and DHS preparing for mass graves and martial law near Chicago? Yes, they are, and nationwide. Finish up the clip.
When we first got there, they laid this map out. It's like 10 feet by 5 feet of the whole county. And he said, we want to know every important thing in this county. We want to know where police departments are, where weapons are stored, hazardous material, where can we land a helicopter, where are the airports, how big of a plane can you land in those airports, where are all the bridges, where are all the power stations, where are all the generating stations, where are all the substations. I mean, they literally want to know everything. I'm sitting there thinking of this, you know, and I'm thinking, man, if there was ever a martial law, this kind of information is exactly the kind of stuff they're going to want, because we're just laying it all out for them right there.
All right, so there you have it. I've got some points I want to make, but we're talking to the reporter that helped break the story, D.H. Williams, with the Daily Newscaster. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, can I share a quick anecdotal story of why this?
Yeah, your phone cut out again. I think you got somebody calling you on call waiting. Or
actually, this line doesn't have call waiting.
Okay.
But can I share a quick anecdotal story why this is so important?
Sure.
Back in 1986, I was serving at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was attached to a unit, about 20 men. To be in the unit, you had to have at least a secret clearance or above. And the reason for that is we would have secret meetings where we would go into in the middle of summer, go into an unair-conditioned building, close the windows, close the shades. We would pull out a big map, lay it out on the table, and we would talk about potential missions that may happen. For example, in the summer of '86, we had a map of Panama. What we would talk about is the location of the airports, the location of power generation, the communications location, where's the Panamanian Defense Force cadre located, where's their officer school located. We wanted to know about their infrastructure. Well, 3 years later, just before Christmas, that information was put into use when Panama was invaded.
And they never told you that was a plan. They said it was just an exercise.
All we knew is that it was for Panama because we had a map, we had locations, we had names, but they do not get into specifics. They do not.
Well, let me stop you. I was interviewing Representative Shea out of Oregon this week, and he's all aware of the martial law. He was also in the Army. He's aware of the plan and the FEMA camps, and anybody who's had this training can see what it is, but we don't even have to sit there and read between the lines. FEMA admits they're preparing to take over the states, that the governors have no power for total martial law, and that was my point. In fact, I have a bunch of them here. I want to go through them with you quickly. 4 shots. They admit they have a plan for 4 shots for the entire population. They tried 5 years ago to make all first responders take the smallpox shots to get them ready to nationally force it. They refused, so that program fell apart. They've trained police nationwide to use buses for forced roundups for those on the red list. That's part of the training. They're telling, and I've talked to city officials, higher up, they tell them, yes, we're preparing for war with the American people during rebellion when they find out foreign banks have taken over. That's why they're building these bunkers all over the nation. That's why they said we want you to harden these city locations. Now, back during urban warfare drills in Texas and all over the country that we went to, they would practice taking over the city halls, the police stations, the governor's mansion, the state capitals, and they even admitted it was for the United States. So I videotaped that. I know they've been quietly preparing forever. So there's that. Please comment on that.
Well, that's exactly right. Any unit needs is the information that's being collected from these county officials. 1967, Detroit, there was a riot. People think it's odd or unusual for the military to be brought in, but in 1967, I think I said 8, but 67, the 82nd Airborne went into Detroit to quell a riot. The military does do these things. It can happen here, and all they need is the information that's being gathered.
But this is being done in conjunction for gun confiscation. That's the point. Let me continue with these. They also are telling all these local counties that everybody has to have FEMA training to deal with IEDs, or improvised explosive devices, on roadsides.
Well, I can tell you a little something about that as well. That is apparently a big concern. I have friends that are in law enforcement. Over a year ago, a large group was taken down to New Orleans for a 2-week training course, and it was specifically to identify and learn procedures about dealing with IEDs. Now, the interesting thing about that training is these police officers were told that the people they need to be concerned about aren't people hiding in caves with beards, but they need to be concerned about soldiers returning from the Middle East.
Yeah, let me expand on that. That's another lie. I have to know what this is really for. They use the ordnance disposal units to first get rid of posse comitatus in the major states. Here in Texas, we caught regular Army checkpoints, searching cars all over I-35. It's in my film, Road to Tyranny. Now, again, just like they've now announced in the Army Times, the Army's going to help at car wrecks. That's to get the public used to having the Army on their streets with something that sounds reasonable. To federalize local police, they started out in the late 80s claiming it was for secret IED or bomb removal, but then we got secret documents that are now public. We got it when the FBI screwed up at a checkpoint and said, here's a press release, idiot, get out of here. And under it, stapled, was the secret, not for distribution. It's up on my website. It's in Police State 2, The Takeover, and Road to Tyranny. And it said, we're here for warrant service, gun confiscation, whatever you need, operating in 1998, already in 77 Texas counties. Now, let me expand. So, see, that's just how they get the local police ready to work with the military and teach them that it's not just Al-Qaeda, it's black people, it's white people, it's Americans. Do you see the PSYOP?
Absolutely, and that's what they're doing. They're saying it's Americans coming back, it's soldiers, it's veterans. They're creating the us versus them scenario. The us being anybody that's a police officer, and them being the rest of us.
Now, they're also, more importantly, in all this urban warfare training and now FEMA takeover communications, they're identifying what county and city officials are dumb and will work with them, what county and city officials are criminals that want to know what's going on and want to join the team, and they're finding out who's going to resist them.
No, absolutely. It's a basic recruiting ops. I mean, any intelligence organization, that's, one of the basic ways to recruit people.
Did you ever hear about how I interviewed the San Antonio police chief, how he wouldn't let them do that in San Antonio, so they brought in bags of cash?
No.
Yeah, that's in Road to Tyranny. You got to see it.
I'm not surprised. I mean, people are compromised constantly. Money will do that.
Well, this is the same way for, as you know, it's now in a History Channel piece narrated by Charlton Heston that came out about 10 years ago. For 2 years, they were covertly buying off local officials and doing the same thing and doing drills in Panama, the supposed ally, covertly just to desensitize the Panamanian Defense Forces, so when the real invasion happened, they would stand down.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so much that goes on. Here's something to consider. When you're in the military and you're flying from, let's say, Fort Bragg, from Pope Air Force Base attached to Fort Bragg, you go down to Panama. This is in Noriega's days. You go down to Panama, you get off the plane, you spend your time in Panama, and then when you return home, you get back on the plane. There's no customs. There's no one there to stop you or check you. You get on the plane, you fly back to Fort Bragg, you get off the plane, and the next thing you know, you're in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
That's why they use the dead bodies in Vietnam packed full of cocaine on record.
That's correct.
All right, continuing with my points, I want you to comment on. They're saying it's mandatory meetings. That trains them to be under federal control and federal orders.
Yeah, it's an act of submission. They're saying you're going to submit right up front. This is what we're going to do. And if you balk about it, things are not going to be good for you.
Let me ask you this question. I talked to former Special Forces colonels, generals, the former head of all of Special Forces on air has said they're preparing for martial law. I can have police chiefs. I can have them all on. The public still sucks their thumb. You were obviously in Special Forces. You're saying it, Bragg. I didn't know that. What are they going to do about the tens of millions of vets who know what this is and recognize what it is and who aren't going to go along with it?
I don't have the exact number, but exactly what's going to happen. But here's what I think. Unfortunately, there's going to be a small contingent of soldiers that are going to do what they're told.